Yeah, I'm live. Awesome. I was talking to my daughter. That's awesome. So, give everybody a minute to join here while I discuss what kind of a lazy piece of shit I've been for 2 weeks. Thank you, babe.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Makeup?
Makeup.
Yeah. And if nobody's going to join, I'm still just going to run my mouth as if I'm important. That's the part I like about being Bryan Wilton. So I can do that and still enjoy things. So, yes, having a schedule is essential. And I haven't had one in 2 weeks. I've laid on my butt and driven around the country and not done a damn thing but make senseless things that perhaps someday when I'm dead, my kids will sell or treasure and have a lot of fortune or whatever. But be that as it may, a schedule is important. And I haven't had one in 2 weeks, and I have done fuck all with it. Put on weight, got fat, didn't do anything, but I did get to see a bunch of people that I loved very much, which was a real pleasure. I always enjoy going home. But all right, that's exactly right. How you doing tonight? Be back at work tomorrow. That ought to be fun. So the importance of a schedule. So there are entire streams of in the business world that suggest that that do the schedule. I remember when Franklin Covey came out. They would have Franklin Covey stores, and all they were daily planners. And you could be the most effective businessman in the world if you had a plan, if you had a schedule. My good friend Justin, he's got a 24-hour cycle, and he sticks to it religiously. That dude accomplishes more than you can imagine. So when I say I've laid on my ass and not done anything, of course, the drive took up a day, 2 days, and then that's exhausting because it's 900 miles. So then you got to recover from that. Then your sleep pattern's off, and then you haven't done anything, and then you're laying around. Then there's people to go visit. So you try to go visit, but you can't cram 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. So you only get to see some of them. And then you have holidays and Christmas, and everybody comes over, and it's the whole whirlwind of events is exhausting. So I took an additional week of vacation and haven't done shit. And see, that's one thing to think about it. But the fact that I haven't done shit also means that I didn't have any of the material that I usually come across to help write my daily email, to help take a look at the world. I sat here and focused on creative things that I'm making. One is a huge totem I'm making for Frey. Another one is one I'm making for this bear, the hunter, Uller. And so there's interesting things that just came to my mind. So when I didn't have anything to do, my mind was filled with these creative things that I needed to create and do, but no insight. No insight, because I wasn't operating with anyone else. The continuous learning that occurs when you're interacting with other people is part of that essential aspect of life that we miss out on when, and I wonder, people that retire, you see them, they go back to work at Walmart so they can have something to do, so they can get back on a schedule. When the most challenging thing they do is, they have a doctor's appointment or they got to go buy groceries, and it's a big event. People tend to shut down, I think, in an important way when we stop interacting with the world. And going on vacation for that long and not doing a damn thing really reminded me of how important a schedule was. The Greeks were pretty important about it. They had three gods of time. They had Kronos, which is not to be confused with the Titan Kronos, right? But he represented. He was a god that represented linear time. He had three of them. Kronos represented empirical time, the past, the present, the future, right? He was the embodiment of linear time. And he's you don't want to call it the simplest version of time, but he was the regular day-to-day, minute by minute, hour by hour individual. Then there was Aeon, who represented eternal time. and he was closely associated with the afterlife, which lends itself to believe that there's other things going to happen when we're done here, but we don't understand what that might look like. And I did put it in an email the other day. It was pretty good. Kairos, considered the embodiment of opportunist time, right? Specifically, when action must be taken to achieve a task. Chronos, the length of the year. Aeon lives in the cycles of the seasons, and Chronos represents the time when once you take advantage of the weather, the plant, or harvest. We have the same thing. But the very beginning of in the Voluspa, it almost talks about the sun, the sister of the moon from the south, her right hand cast over heaven's rim. No knowledge she had where her home should be. The moon knew not what might was his, and the stars knew not where their stations were. The sun governs how everything grows up here. The moon governs the cycles, the basic concept of time, the 13 lunar cycles that we have in the year. The stars, they provide our guidance literally across the world. Even to this day, people navigate by the stars. And the moon represents so much more. All of those things were given to us as by the divine. I want us to consider that in the Havamal, it tells us that there are signs for us to understand what times represent. If I can pull it up here real quick, I'll tell you what they are. And it's really very interesting because it's nothing grand or anything, but it all boils down to a cycle, right? But time is that thing, the schedule of that time is one of the most powerful tools that we own. And when we don't make use of it, we shortchange ourselves of this existence of living, which is a real challenge for someone to try to understand. Okay, we're existing, we're happy, we're free, we're financially independent, and we're wealthy. We have all the time in the world, which is an interesting comment for someone to be wealthy, that he has all the time in the world to do this or that. Or someone that's not doing anything. They have all the time in the world. Well, that's a fairly powerful sign of wealth, isn't it? But the Havamal says to give praise to the day and evening when the day is done, right? All the things that you've accomplished to a woman on her pyre, a life of a woman well spent, right? There's a powerful indication of all the life that she's created, all the life she has fostered, the healing she has done, the daughter, the wife, the grandmother, the great-grandmother. All of those roles are very important, right? To a weapon when it's tried, to a maid at wedlock, to ice when it's crossed, to ale that is drunk when the gale blows, hew wood, and the fair wind seek water, sport with maidens at dusk, for day's eyes are many. From the ship seek swiftness, from the shield protection, cuts from the sword, from the maiden kisses, by the fire drink ale, over ice go on skates, and by a steed that is lean and a sword that is tarnished. The horse at home fatten, the hound at thy dwelling. That there are real specific instructions on what to do. Wealth buys time, right? But I think one of the most important things for the wealthy is when they have that time, they understand what to do with it, right? The powerful image of Gordon Gekko, multitasking, having 4 or 5 things going on at once and able to mentally juggle all of these things, calling it multitasking. Switch tasking, I think it's called now. It's generally not looked upon as the greatest thing. I can show you a little exercise that shows you that kind of multitasking is a thief. When they're busy doing all these things, but nothing really ever gets done. So laying on my ass, getting fat, not paying attention to anything that's going on because I didn't have a schedule. Part of me enjoyed it. Part of me thoroughly enjoyed shirking the responsibilities that I understand are mine. But at the end of the day, you get to looking at it, and any person that has any kind of thought process or open-mindedness begins to understand, I have just wasted a day. And I just read in the Havamal all those things we're supposed to understand. We're supposed to give praise to the day and the evening because we should have had success. We should have accomplished something. Biggest thing I had to do was get my butt to the feeding table and strap on a feed bag, right? So as much as everyone, so when you look at these things and you think about it and you really consider it, and you think, oh, I hate going to work every day. Well, what else are you going to do? So this is the first pitfall that people who start their own businesses run across is ensuring they have the discipline to do what needs to be done every day. When I ran Beanie Tower, I got up and took care of business. I scheduled everything out. I covered a whole central region of the U.S. and made an enormous amount of money because I had a schedule, I stuck to it, and I delivered what was promised at the time that it was promised. This is an important and key aspect in doing any kind of real business, is that you take care of it, right? So going on vacation, which is something I really haven't done in a while, like that, it caught me by surprise. It caught me by surprise how actually lazy I really can be when I decide to be lazy. Whew, son, I'll tell you what, there's few people that can hold a candle to it. But it also robbed me of the interaction with society. I've been sitting in this house. The only person I've really talked to is Shanae and the kids and my kids. That's it. And it makes me wonder. So in not having that interaction with other people, I had a few comments from Leroy that really jogged my imagination. That yeah, so that's procrastination, putting it off. My thing with procrastination is it's not that I don't want to do it. It's that sometimes I'm not sure of the path of how to do it, of how I want to accomplish it, of the right thing. So when I procrastinate, I got to look at it because I have a little bit of a perfectionist in my thought process. And when I look at those kind of things and I come up across a task and I know I'm supposed to be utilizing my time, there's a part of me that understands you don't know everything you need to know about how to do that yet. That's the challenge. Now, if I let that paralyze my thought process and I don't go ahead and take at least one step forward, I'll never learn it. So I've become accustomed to putting myself in a situation where I've got to keep moving forward. The pressure to keep performing, that's the real thing that matters in all of it, is that desire to keep going. I've got to put the pressure on myself to keep moving forward. Little did I know, or was I unaware, that I'd become so thoroughly accustomed to working this factory job, being a production supervisor, that if I gave myself an excuse that I didn't have to work, that I would use it for everything. Holy cow. What a ridiculous state of being for a man like myself, right? I should be further along the path. I should be better. I should be more, right? I'm Bryan Wilton after all. Oh, yeah, there's a TV show called Tacoma Fire Department. It's funny as hell. It's ridiculous in every aspect. But there's a guy on there that keeps calling himself by his own name. People get frustrated when I do that. I think it's funny as shit. So if we look at this idea of time, which is something I've just discussed before, I have cultivated this newfound respect for just how wisely this gift should be handled. So now I'm looking at Justin's 24-hour cycle again, thinking, I know this. I understand this. I've done it before. I've been businessman. I've been successful. I've, the school, the work, the whole 9 yards. Everything's on a schedule and it's running right as rain. I think people get frustrated with how everything's running because they're not running on the path that they want to be on. I feel pretty good about my path in a lot of ways. I feel very good about my path because I have this inherent understanding that no matter what's going on, next week it'll be something different, right? Whatever kind of bullshit seems to be terrorizing your life, next week it will be something entirely different, and it will tax your resources and your thought process and your faith and everything else. Now, I did have some friends that lost people. My aunt lost her sister. I have a couple of people at work that there's people that have lost dear ones over the holidays. What a terrifying what a terrifying concept to lose someone you love over the holidays. And it brings me right back to, did we make the most of that time? So I don't know. I don't know. That's always a question we got to ask ourselves. And with regard to myself, my time spent with my father and my grandfather, I did it right. Right. I got to spend a lot of time with him. He taught me more about being a man than you could possibly imagine, with just simple things, actions, the discipline to get up and go to work on a farm that he owned. I so appreciate that idea. And I got to visit the farm again. And I got to tell you that that farm that my grandfather owned might as well be a piece of paradise. And there is a well on the farm that somebody hand dug many, many years ago, 100, 150 years ago, lined with sandstone. It's very deep when it's water table. You can see where the water table is on the farm in that well. And there's a big ass tree growing out of the back of the well. It's a most amazing place. I spent a year there cleaning that up, but I also had the time every Sunday. I would open the doors, and any heathen that wanted to come in, that would come over, and we would cook spaghetti or some kind of food, so everybody got to eat. We got to eat a meal. And people came from all over, from Kansas, from Arkansas, sometimes from Texas. And then even had people from California come out. We would have huge bloats around this well and do amazing things because it was this real powerful spiritual place. I failed to use my time properly enough to secure enough wealth to make sure that that farm stayed in my family's generation. So when I'm looking at myself right now, thinking, you still have work to do, I embrace that. I embrace that idea that yes, I do still have quite a bit of work to do. There are many concepts and many ideas that I hold today that I didn't hold as true years ago. That today I look at them like, oh well, yeah, that probably is right. I had to grow through all that, but I had to use my time properly in order to do it, which meant I had to learn, I had to read, I had to spend a certain amount of time at the end of the day when I gave praise that, hey, did you spend any time learning today? Did you spend any time working with others today? Did you spend any time making some money today? Did you spend any, all of those things that need to be similarly scheduled out. Um, I don't know that I come to you this evening with any kind of wise operational insight, simply understanding of my own shortcomings as a demonstration of how life really is. I think this is just as important for a leader to do as anything else, is to demonstrate, hey, I may have been slow in this regard. What do you guys think? To ask that feedback, to get that feedback from people. All too often, we barrel headlong into what we believe to be the right thing to do with our schedule and all these other things, and we read something and we learn something and we pay attention to it and we believe it to be the gospel truth. And then somebody over here is an entirely different type of character who has had plenty of time and made the most of it because they had no other choice. There's lessons to be learned in understanding that if I barrel headlong into it as if I know everything right off the top, well, I'm shortchanging myself on some piece of information that might really radically change my life. Or somebody else, somebody that's in the army is 99% boredom with like 1% balls to the wall action every once in a while. And it's ridiculous. Most of the time it's just boring as hell. You're cleaning your weapon, well, at least with the infantry. I don't know about the others. There's always work to be done in the other MOSs, but the infantry, you're exercising, you're working out, you're eating, you're laying on your ass, you're cleaning your weapon, or you're on patrol. Now, if you're in the barracks stateside, it's a ridiculous litany of dog and pony and maintenance and keeping busy all day long and training, going to the range, and it becomes an inane. I say inane, but it's essential that you understand what you do there so you can live. Once again, the proper use of time. We had a schedule. We knew what to do. We knew how to understand. We knew what to expect. So going into 2024, obviously, this is going to be one of the big deals with regards to engaging and motivating individuals to become a part of something. I'm not talking about no organization, but just become a part of something along this path that we're trying to create at work, with my spirituality, with my family. The schedule of this time is a God's given ability that makes us truly remarkable individuals. I think all of our interaction with other people is determined by when we want to do it. If we're doing it in a time that's not congruent with how we want to grow into something better, uh, are we really paying attention to and learning all of the lessons that might be offered in that moment? I would submit to you that most likely we aren't. That there are other things that we might need to be paying attention to instead of just spinning our wheels. Are you going somewhere? Are you building something? Are you saving money? Are you acquiring wealth? Are you acquiring knowledge? Are you developing and cultivating friendships, true friendships, not the kind that burn for 6 days and then they're done, but that kind of lifelong friendship? I have a couple that of people that I consider to be friends for many, many years now. And this is a really special thing when I get to talk and interaction with them. I tried to schedule some time with one of them this past while I was in Oklahoma, and I just didn't have the time to do it. What a shame. That's a failure on my part, not on theirs. So, if you want something and you consider it a goal and you consider it something to be worthwhile, everybody says work hard, and wait for luck and opportunity is usually dressed in overalls and all these other things. I think I'm here tonight to tell you of the belief that you got to schedule it out. You got to schedule it out and you got to make time. You got to make time. You got to fill your schedule it up and you got to figure out exactly how you want to do it. And you can bet that I'm going to be going to check out this 24-hour time cycle that Justin keeps talking about so I can make things happen. When I have other people do it for me, it pisses me off. Few things make me madder than for somebody to schedule a bunch of bullshit on my weekend. Yes, I know they are. You always want one. Sinead lives, but she always wants to know, when are we going to do it? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's go now. And it drives her nuts. It's somewhere between, it's I don't even know how to explain it. So the ability to schedule our time as it's outlined in the Greeks and the Norse, that hey, it's all there. It's all set up for us. It's broken down in minutes and seconds and hours for us to make the most use of. Me laying on my ass for 2 weeks, just laying around, fooling around with Shanae and the kids and eating food and spending time with my sons and daughters and my mother and father. Yeah, I'm going to have to double my time. I can tell you one thing I'm going to have to do with my schedule is double the amount of time I spend in the gym because of that bullshit. So right there, I've already begun to fill up my schedule. And tomorrow morning, I get up at 6:30, take Charlotte to school, hit the gym, then go to work for 10 hours. Very much scheduled. And during that 10 hours, I got to make the most of it and teach other people how to do it too. How to best schedule and manage their time. It just, I think the thing that shocked me the most about all of it was in that lack of interaction, finding in that groove of comfort and security. I didn't get that kind of interaction that offers me insight into myself, which surprised me. It's got to be interaction with other people. I've always considered myself a fairly independent spirit, and I really don't need anybody, and I'm a loner, and always have been. But it brings us right back to that. Good people are an essential part of your life. And you got to schedule the right kind of time with them. And you got it because that's our insight into ourselves. That's our window into who and what we are. That's our window into our ability to grow and become something better. And I know people don't like to hear that because sometimes it sounds like, pure mental masturbatory material. Oh, I'm in self improvement. I'm on a path of growth. And they're just sitting around staying high so they can ignore what's going on with them. And then they call themselves a shaman. And the next thing you know, oh, they're tie-dyed wearing beads and they're hippies and they have a good life because they have all the time in the world. It's a real thing. Just sitting around. I honestly, the scheduling of my time at one point was so important that this idea of meditating was ludicrous. Well, I don't have time for that kind of bullshit. But I will tell you, you got to make time for that too. You got to make some time to have a little time to yourself as you interact with all these people, or you end up running in circles. The scheduling of time. What an amazing learning experience all of this has been. And I've been very grateful for it this past 2 weeks. Not grateful for the side effects, but I am grateful for the idea that I got some learning I need to do. That's important. The idea that I still need to learn things, the idea that there are still new, further horizons to explore, the idea that there are new things to understand and comprehend, and new ways to look at things, and new ideas that challenge our preconceived notions. That in the understanding of time, the idea that the gods made it, there are gods for it, and that we have this powerful tool to use time as we see fit to become what we're supposed to become. I guess I left that part out, huh? Well, I'm probably not going to do it anymore. So, does anybody got any questions here? We both got haircuts, yeah. And wealth buys time, yes, it does. And Leroy, work on procrastinating. If I procrastinate on one thing, I might need to be productive on another. That is true, and that is something that I do too. If I get confused or don't understand how I do it, I'll work on something else and hope and get into the flow of that, and then figure out. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, there's the answer. I might work on one of these silly craft projects that I got going on. And Shanae's schedules are good. Yeah. Yes, you are right. So there you have it on video. It's going to be saved for posterity. It's going to be amazing. Shanae was right. And Jeremy, yeah, that is worth laughing your ass off at if you knew Shanae. Because I drive her crazy with that shit. So, does anybody have any other questions or comments or concerns? Because, quite frankly, with this whole thing with time has captivated my imagination most of the day, and now it's dark, and I've wasted the whole fucking day. So, no, it's on video, and that's all you're going to get. So, anyway, small steps in the right check. That's right. Small steps in the right direction help achieve the goal. Yes, they do. So that's what we're going to begin on this week. And next Saturday, we'll get on the phone with each other and we'll get to talk about it. And I appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you for telling me that. I do appreciate that kind of thanks. I do appreciate that kind of feedback because there's a lot of people that spend their time still talking about Bryan Wilton doesn't know what he's doing. Okay. I know, right? I did the same thing. I laid in bed. I got called. Shanae called me this morning at 10 o'clock. I'm still laying in bed. Didn't accomplish shit. I'm glad I may need to live on a farm when I'm retired just so I have to get up and do something. Feed the cows or something. Certainly not chickens, or a rooster, but certainly maybe cows. And if I got enough land, a horse. If you ain't got enough land for a horse, it becomes the most expensive pet you'll ever have. But if you got 50, 100 acres and you got a right fence or maybe more than that, you'll be all right. All right. I appreciate every one of y'all joining me in here this evening. We're going to get back on track. Next week, we'll start the Zoom calls again. This week sometime, Leroy, I'll reach out to you. We'll work on this. We'll go over what you've been working on. And then there you go. Well, shit, dude. That's a lot of damn work. I did drop a tree and pound some pipe in the ground for a well. Yeah, I'm glad you put that in there. That's a lot of work. I made chili, right, out of a can, and a dream catcher. Don't I don't even yes. Most frustrating thing I've done in forever. But I wanted to do it. At any rate, I hope everybody has a great week. I hope we're off to a good 2024. I think we're going to if the aliens invade. Make sure you have just follow the have them all. Make sure you have it within arm's reach, and you ought to be good to go. So, all of y'all have a great week. Tomorrow's Monday. Let's grab it by the nose and whip its ass and tell it what time it is. Yeah, that's what we got to do. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the interaction. I'm glad to talk to y'all again. I'm back in the saddle. Let's go out there and give it hell. Thank you.